Hey everybody, and welcome back to Brutally Honest Reviews. I'm Evan, and I'm here with Rob and Taylor, and replacing Justin today is Chris Rennie, and we are going to be reviewing Mission Impossible 6 or Mission Impossible Fallout. And if anybody does not know, Mission Impossible is a series, has 5 movies that precede Fallout, and they do call back a couple of these movies during the actual movie that we see today. So some storylines from the third one and some storylines from, I believe, the fifth one ended up in this new 6th installment. I want to get initial comments from you guys. What did you guys think about... Actually, first of all, who has seen all of the Mission Impossible movies? Anyone?
No.
That would be me.
I saw the first 2 and this one.
Yeah, so our story, just to lead into Fallout, our story with Mission Impossible is we saw the trailer. We loved the trailer. The first trailer. They had 3 different ones.
Is that the one with what's the name of the band?
Imagine Dragons.
Dragons.
Yeah.
I hate that song only because of
hate
that trailer. But
Really?
I love the trailer.
I thought it was so
Yeah.
cool.
Oh
I
yeah.
thought the song fit perfect.
I loved it.
couldn't
We
stand
listened
it.
to the
My
song
friend, like,
on the
taught
way to
me
the movie.
The police could yeah.
Oh yeah. So me and Taylor loved that trailer, and so we saw this, and we're like, we got to see this movie, but we got to binge. Last time I saw Mission Impossible was like probably when it came out in 1996.
Nice.
So I bought a 3-pack, thinking there was only 3 movies in the series, and found out later from Rob that he has the 5-movie pack.
You're welcome.
So it didn't really matter because we watched the first one, and then we got to the second one, and the second one was awful, and we just stopped. So.
Pretty much.
But from someone who's seen the Mission Impossible movies, what did you guys think of this installment? I'll start with Rob on the end.
I honestly think the series gets better as it goes. If this one wasn't my favorite one of the series, it was probably my second favorite. The only other one that I would say, if this one isn't my favorite, would be Ghost Protocol.
Was that the one right before this one?
No, that's
The fourth.
the fourth one.
fourth one.
Yeah,
Fourth
yeah.
one.
The one right before this one was
Rogue Nation.
Rogue Nation, right? I read about that.
And to differentiate from you guys, I actually grew up with the first one and the second one, so I've liked those my entire life. The second one, I will admit, is kind of it's a little too John Woo, a little too like slow mo and doves flying everywhere. But I honestly have always kind of appreciated it. But my favorite will always just be that first one. I can remember going to theater, seeing the Langley scene, and just the tension in that scene, and just how De Palma kind of just shoots everything really slow, and I love that scene. And I think they've kind of lost that in the new ones, and they are fun. But I got kind of more of an MCU vibe from this one. So
Yeah.
while I did like it, I did like Rogue Nation. Ghost Protocol more. And my favorite will still always be the first one. So
Yeah. I loved the first one because I love Brian De Palma, and he did Manhunter.
Yep.
Before Hannibal. It's funny, he started 2 different franchises.
oh wait, no, he didn't do Manhunter.
He didn't do Manhunter?
No, that's
no.
Man, yeah.
Wow. Who is that?
Michael Mann.
Michael Mann?
Yep.
You sure?
Pretty sure.
We
He
don't
did,
have our fact
he did
checker
something
here.
else. No, we don't have our fact check here today.
No fact check. Retroactive fact check.
Yeah.
Well, it was funny though because I was talking to my friend, and I'm not even the biggest De Palma fan anyway.
Yeah.
So it's kind of ironic that I choose that one as my favorite, and it just always passes the test every time there's a new installment. So
Yeah. So my initial thoughts, coming from someone who hasn't seen much of these, I actually did some research ahead of this movie just to figure out where Mission Impossible came from. And it's actually like a 50s TV show.
Yep.
And they just adapted the storylines, and I'm sure they made most of their new storylines up, or grandized them and stuff like that. But it used to be.
If I can point out too, I'm not even sure how accurate this is, but I'm pretty sure Jon Voight played one of the original TV show characters in his movie.
No kidding.
So it was kind of controversial that he kind of turned on the team. What is it? IMF?
Yeah.
Is the name of the team?
IMF.
So
Yeah.
when the movie came out, people were actually kind of upset that one of their heroes turned out to be the villain.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for the first one.
Yeah.
It's been 2 decades, but just in
You
case.
never know.
They don't need it.
So coming in for this one, to me, someone who hasn't seen any of the Mission Impossible movies aside from the first 2, at least in a long time, I really liked it. I think they paced the movie really well. I thought there was a lot of the action that brought back from like the original. It had a lot of gruesome violence in it, and I think they kind of brought a next level where from the last couple movies was kind of lacking. I've heard, and this one was kind of more brutal, more things going on, more things to be excited about. It's a 2.5 hour movie, and it didn't feel like it at all, which was, I think, quite an accomplishment. Cinematography was interesting. I thought I want to touch on this first because I know I'll forget about it.
Do we even know who it was?
See, I don't know cinematographers like I know directors, but I don't. I think I remember seeing his name in the credits and not knowing who he was.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, but what I thought was interesting is like I don't know if you noticed, but did you see when I thought it was like a theme kind of thing, but I noticed that they used the same like a star screen filter over the lens throughout the whole movie. So like whenever you saw like a light in the background or in the foreground or anything, like it would create that kind of like those lines. So like one of the opening shot when he wakes up from that dream, you see him wake up and it kind of looks like almost like Blade Runner or something. There's just lights going. I thought it was like to signify that he's coming out of a dream or going into a dream sequence. But later, when they're down in the dungeon, we'll talk about it later. When they go through the aqueduct and they're in that room, you kind of see all these work lights and they're creating that weird kind of design. I remember we used one of those filters recently. It was pretty cool.
I'm just gonna mention too. You were completely talking over my head right now. I don't know half of the lingo in like
Oh, it's okay.
Film
and
lingo.
I can tell you, I think that shot looks great. But it'll be awesome to listen to you tell me why that shot is that way.
I'll explain it.
Yeah.
So through the whole film, it's not really anything major, but stylistically, cinematographers will sometimes use filters to portray certain emotions or certain things that are going on in the script. So usually it's something that'll happen during like a drug overdose, for example. They'll do some weird thing with the filter, or maybe they'll dial up the shutter speed, which will cause images to jump around and kind of look like surreal. And then with the filters, in this particular movie, they'll use a filter, which will go into their matte box, which is glass, and it's usually either 4x4 or 4x5.65. And what they do is when light comes through, it refracts, and you'll get these weird kind of weird images on your screen. A lot of DPs use this for dream sequences, like I mentioned. It's a little.
Was that like the rainbowy, like the prism-y kind of look?
Yeah. So like
yeah.
across the screen, you'll see like prisms
Right.
and stuff like that. That's what that is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, but it didn't seem like there was any reason for it, but it was pretty cool.
J.J. Abrams does that with the lens flares too.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
That's
I
just
thought of
part of
immediately.
his style.
Yeah, like Super 8, was that him?
Yep.
Or was
That
was Spielberg? No, it
Star
was-
It was
Wars, Star
him.
Trek.
Spielberg might have produced it, but
He just usually
that's an
does a
Abrams.
lot of lens flares.
Yep. It's like a running joke. Like when you think of like Abrams, you think of lens flare.
Yeah, no, I remember now. You're right.
Yep.
Yeah. So all in all, I thought it was a great movie. I thought that you didn't really have to be connected to the series necessarily to understand
Yeah.
it. What we did afterwards is after we saw the movie, we just filled in. We looked up what the connections were to the other movies. They're not really crazy, and I can go over them later, but just thought it was something worth mentioning. What do you think, Taylor?
I loved it. I don't know if you saw me, but it was one of the few movies where I was in the theater actually like, like I was like so enthralled in the whole movie. I did not even notice how long it was at all. Like I would have sat there for like a whole nother movie of it. I don't know. I just love the action. Again, I didn't pick up maybe on all of the subtle storyline connections, but I don't think it was really necessary to know. You get the idea. You know, there's history between these two characters, and it's kind of where it ends. You don't really need to know the whole story, but which is good because I hate going into a movie and feeling like I don't know what's going on. So definitely loved it. I thought it was great.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's go into the movie a little bit. I'm gonna try to go a little bit quicker through this movie since it is 2.5 hours. So,
Yes.
not to say if you got something to say you can't say it, but we're gonna make sure we try to get this through and tell you guys what's going on. So we start the movie. We start actually with what I think was a kind of sloppy exposition, setting up kind of the storyline with a heist gone wrong kind of thing. But it didn't ended up paying off in the end. 2.5 hour movie. I was only upset for 5 minutes. So what happened is so Tom Cruise is basically going on another mission, and they are hiring him to intercept some plutonium and make a deal for some plutonium, which can be used in catastrophic terrorist attacks of that nature, or just otherwise valuable to criminals. It's really not explained very clearly, but within minutes they are basically ambushed. The bad guys, which we're introduced to a little bit later, these are kind of just the ambush bad guys who initially steal the plutonium.
The apostles, correct?
The apostles,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, we get the name a little bit later on.
And that's who those guys were, but they weren't connected. I don't think they were in the rest of the film. Those bad guys.
They were mentioned. We didn't see them too much until, well, can't really say without spoilers, but they're back later on in the movie.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, as a whole, they're back.
Yeah.
Like some of those faces you don't see again.
Oh yeah.
Like
Right.
like the main guy there, we don't see him again.
There's no real team of apostles that are showed or singled out.
Yeah.
Right, we don't know names
Yeah.
of them or anything like
Outside
that.
of
It's
the
kind of
leader.
just a general, group that we're aware of.
Yeah. So let's try to explain that ahead of time, since everybody's probably already seen the movie. The guys who ambushed them in the beginning, they are part of the Apostles, which we find out are a group of basically people who joined this criminal leader as what he had named them as the Syndicate before he was arrested. And when he was arrested, these syndicate members became the Apostle, the group of the Apostle, and kind of seeked out their own, I guess, kind of crimes for their own benefit, and put their original leader in the crosshairs of all of this going on just to benefit for themselves and cause catastrophic terrorist attacks. So what we see happen, plutonium's lost. Tom Cruise has this thing where he cannot shoot his friend. He cannot let his friend go in order to save the plutonium. His friend is Ving Rhames, who is Luther in this franchise, only one of the only returning members.
He's the only one that's also in L6 besides Cruise.
Oh, really?
All of them.
Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah. So we have this moment. He is robbed. They take the money. They take the plutonium. Ving Rhames ends up surviving. He gets shot by Tom Cruise, but he has a vest on. And then they have to figure out what they're going to do about this. So the next scene we're cut into, though, is interesting, because the next scene we're led to believe that we see this man in the hospital, and he's the doctor who's behind basically the manufacturer of these plutonium weapons, and he is the same intention as the Apostles. He's part of the Apostles, and he's watching a news broadcast on TV in his hotel room, or not hotel room, hospital room. And it comes on that there's 3 different attacks. I don't remember where.
Mecca, Jerusalem, and the Vatican.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, Mecca,
This guy
Jerusalem,
was
Vatican.
huge anti-religion.
Right. So he thinks that they hit all these 3 targets, and that his ultimate goals are fulfilled. Tom Cruise comes in, Ving Rhames come in, and they basically trick the man into realizing, they trick the man into thinking that he's in a hospital room recovering, when in reality they drop the walls and you see that they're actually just in a warehouse. And they tricked the guy into giving up the coordinates or information.
The phone password.
Is the phone password? Oh, the phone password, right. So it unlocks the phone password, and then they're able to get all this information on where the plutonium is and what they need to do next. What did you guys think about that scene?
I thought it was great. I mean, it was on par for what they would have done, but I still kind of didn't expect it to happen like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was exactly what they would do,
Yeah.
but they still wrote it in such a way where
Yeah.
it worked well enough. I was actually very shocked that within 10 minutes of a Mission Impossible beginning, that the Vatican and Mecca are just gone.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wow.
Right.
And then it's slowly dawned. I'm like, oh wait, no. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
And you
That's
see
not the
the
really Wolf
reporter give
Blitzer.
up. Yeah.
Wolf Blitzer's Simon Pegg. It's great. And it was great how it was exactly what they would do, but it still worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I kind of felt like something was going on, like when they did the whole like good cop, bad cop vibe thing. I was like,
Exactly,
they're up to something, but I just thought they were in this hospital tricking him, somehow. I didn't think. When the walls fell, I was like, that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't expect them to transition in that way. I liked it.
Yeah, I like how they're getting more creative in movies in general with ways that they're tricking criminals, because I'm sick of you can't just keep having the same things. We've had crime movies for 50, 60 years now. We can't just keep having the same thing. So that was interesting and refreshing. So after we see that happen, that transpire, Angela Bassett, who works for the U.S. government, is contacted. She can't trust anyone because everybody, in her opinion, which is kind of poking fun at politics, or not poking fun of, but showing how cutthroat politics is that she won't even hire Tom Cruise specifically because he chose his friend's life over saving the plutonium, which would, in theory, save the entire country, entire world. Yeah. So she can't trust him. So she hires this guy who has a very creepy mustache, which was my first clue. Spoiler alert, there is a mustache.
The mustache
No CGI mustache in this house.
Yeah.
So it was Cahill. What's his name?
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cahill.
Yeah.
Cavill.
Cavill.
With like a
Cavill.
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 Yeah.
Yep.
So Henry Cavill plays this other military operative who works basically in the same field that Tom Cruise does, that we learn, and he's brought on to clean up the job, basically because when Tom Cruise has an approach, Tom Cruise will take things very methodically and very, doing things the correct way. But Henry Cavill is his actual character name.
We should use the character names.
Yeah.
This is a character. I know the code name is John Lark.
And
But
right.
It was like they gave him like this high-end assassin name, like this really cool name. But
Yeah.
then they don't think they really use it again. I think they just use his last name. for the
Yeah,
rest
they
of it.
do,
But
yeah.
I don't remember what it was off the top of my head.
So Tom Cruise is Ethan Hunt, as always, if you haven't seen the series.
Ethan Hunt.
Henry Cavill, I can't remember what his name is.
Just call him Bruce Wayne. There you go.
It,
Wrong character. That's my bad.
We need our fact.
I am
it'll
not up
come
in my
back.
Justice League.
it'll come back to us. But anyway, she hires this guy from the military to oversee and go with Tom Cruise during this operation, where he is tasked with interrupting this major gathering and trying to find who has the plutonium, who he needs to talk to. So they end up taking off for whatever reason. I don't understand why they took off from it. Maybe there wasn't a safer way, but they jump out of an airplane
Into a
and
lightning storm.
into a lightning storm.
Overstorm.
Not just any skydiving. That was a halo jump. No oxygen. I really want to know if that was Tom Cruise doing it,
Yeah.
because he's
Said it was.
insane.
Yeah, no, yeah. Somewhere, I read somewhere that he did the jump. Yeah.
That's crazy.
A real jump?
That's what he. Yeah, he just does the stunts. Yeah. We'll talk more about the helicopter too, because I'm sure you guys have heard of that, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
And if I might steal a page out of your book, did you notice it was a one take?
Which shot?
Pretty much the whole jump was a one take. I guarantee you they cut 100 times.
I
but
didn't notice that. I mean, but that was also, like, most of that was done in a studio.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, most of that had to have been done in the studio just because of the shots they got and stuff like that.
Pretty much, like I think, like as soon as you see Tom jump, or Ethan Hunt rather, the whole way down is just one take.
It is
With,
kind
you
of
know,
crazy,
yeah.
though. Yeah.
Did not notice.
So yeah, they jump, and up in the plane we kind of get this weird vibe from from Henry Cavill's character, where he kind of seems dumb, or like he kind of seems
Right?
like
Yeah.
he doesn't know what he's doing.
He's a dumb frat boy.
But like obviously he was kidding. He really was just messing with Tom Cruise.
I missed something too. Was he actually knocked out? Because when they
Yeah.
landed,
Yes.
I think so.
when they
The
landed, it
oxygen
he made
kicked
like a
back
joke
in.
about it, and I almost was wondering if he was just messing with
It
him.
Well, it's
seemed
good-
like it.
It's because Ethan took his
Yeah,
oxygen,
I
Right.
remember that.
threw
Yeah.
Cavill's off of him, and when they landed, he noticed that Ethan's wasn't on. He's like,
Yeah.
oh.
So I wasn't sure if that
No.
smart ass comeback was
No.
just like him like just noticing
When you
that.
lose
He
consciousness,
definitely-
you usually don't realize you're out.
Right.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
He definitely got hit by
he just gets
lightning.
up and he's just cool Henry Cavill without skipping a beat.
Yeah, that part was a little bit kind of like frustrating to me because it was like I wish we knew if he was kidding the first time, at least. Like it just didn't. It seemed like they were trying to show us something like funny.
I think he said
or
it
a
too
hint.
cocky to be kidding. So
Yeah.
he legitimately thought Ethan lost his oxygen tank.
Yeah.
And luckily made it down. Because, I mean, the way he landed on the top of the building.
Yeah.
Not very gracefully. So.
No.
Which it would probably kill him in real life.
In
but
real life, yeah.
Tom Cruise is
Oh yeah.
unbreakable
He's a
stuff.
machine.
Oh, the way he landed on that, yeah, he would be dead.
What,
Isn't it-
didn't it like his like shoe just hit the thing?
His
Like strap came
spine
down.
probably was
Yeah,
down.
exactly.
He was so close to ground.
Oh, it's so great.
You wouldn't even be able to deploy a parachute because you wouldn't be able to bring your arms up. You'd be going so fast. But anyway,
Technicalities.
yeah, this movie's not going to be realistic.
Nor should it be.
We don't expect it to be.
So they show up at the party from the roof,
Looking for John Lark.
looking for John Lark. So John Lark is this code name of this guy who's running this operation, basically. And they have to try to figure out who the heck he is, how to stop him, etc. We'll get on that later because some surprises happen. But anyways, they go into this party. We meet Kirby. That's her last name. The blonde character.
White Widow.
Yep,
Widow.
White Widow. So her name is Kirby, or is that her actress name? Nope, that's her real name. And
That's her real name.
her code name is White Widow.
All
White
they
Widow.
called her was White Widow
Yeah.
in the movie.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So they run into White Widow, who's an arms dealer, and Tom Cruise Ethan Hunt tells White Widow that there's something going on at the party. There are a bunch of people who are trying to get their hands on specifically her and John Lark and figure out basically where the money's at.
Wait.
Basically, that's the
Are you skipping the best fight scene
That's-
ever?
Yeah.
the bathroom
The
fight
bathroom
scene?
fight scene was
I think
so
I am skipping it,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
skipped the fight
I
scene.
loved every part of that. Even from the trailer. That was my favorite part of the trailer because it went with the song when Cavill, whatever it was, when he
Shotgun
just like
cocked his
shakes his
arms.
fists out to the beat of the song. So like I was waiting for that bathroom scene the
Yeah.
whole time we were sitting there. So I don't think we should skip it.
No,
It
no.
was awesome.
Nope.
So before we end up having that conversation with White Widow, Henry Cavill and Ethan Hunt go into the bathroom there where they have GPS tracker and they think they found John Lark, or whoever John Lark is. They run into this guy at the urinal, and there's this huge fight scene between this Asian guy and them. And the Asian guy ends up getting shot, but not after like an awesome fight scene.
I liked how Cruise and Cavill they would take punches. Like, you know, sometimes in action movies, you know, like
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves in The Matrix, like he won't get hit at all. Like they were getting beat down. And
Oh yeah.
it was
Oh, they
going
were-
back and forth.
They were
Oh, yeah.
losing for a good chunk of it.
Yeah,
And it's just refreshing to kind of see that fight like that.
I loved it.
they probably would have got killed in that bathroom.
When he like threw the guy over his shoulder, like through the sinks.
Oh, yeah, that was-
I was
that was
just
sick.
like, what? That's nuts.
Yeah.
Just pure action for action's sake. But
The sinks broke a little bit easy, but I've never.
I mean,
thrown-
so did the
I've,
wall.
I've never thrown
He
a
charged
person.
through a
exactly.
wall.
Okay, we'll test this through. later.
I'll throw games
But-
into
If
it.
Superman
shot.
throws you through a sink, it's
by
gonna correct.
Elsa.
Well, before that, so before we end up, before Asian guy gets shot, what their objective is in this event, I forgot to mention, is they're trying to use this software to impersonate the face of this John Lark character and go into this meeting and try to convince this arms dealer to get the plutonium. And what happens is Henry Cavill actually smashes the guy across the face with the laptop. So the software ends up getting all screwed up. And they're trying to do this, and all of a sudden, the Asian guy wakes up and he starts to kick their ass. And then to save the day, I forget her name.
Rebecca
Elsa.
Ferguson.
Oh, her real name.
yeah.
I don't know.
Either or.
Character
So-
name Elsa.
Character name
Actress.
Elsa. Yep.
Actress.
Actress
I did not
Rebecca
know.
Ferguson.
Okay.
It's Ferguson. Ferguson.
Yep. As famous from Life and what was that musical
Yeah.
that just came out? Greatest Showman.
Greatest
She's in
Showman.
that. Yep.
Okay, so Ilsa comes in, and well, she didn't come in. She enters by shooting the Asian guy in the head.
Thus ruining their plan to steal his face.
Oh,
because
that's-
he no longer has one.
Right. And then a couple people come in the bathroom. A couple people come in the bathroom on different occasions, and it kind of comedy ensues. You see 3 people in one stall in the beginning during the fight, and then later someone comes in and they pretend like Henry Cavill had a nosebleed.
And it wasn't brain matter all over the floor.
Yeah, so
Bad nosebleed.
that was good. So then we have our conversation with the arms dealer. We find out there are assassins inside trying to get their hands on the plutonium. And as Tom Cruise starts to show White Widow out to safety, we see a couple of them actually attack him. He stabs a couple of them, hits a couple of them, and then we end up exiting. What'd you guys think about that scene right there?
Kind of reminded me a little bit of John Wick. The first one where he was traveling through the nightclub and as it was going on, just taking the guys out. Ethan did it with a lot more precision with their own weapons. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I liked how... Sorry, Rennie, I didn't just jump over you. But I liked in that scene how you really saw their, like, teamwork. Even if the team dynamic we know later on in the movie is not exactly honest. But I liked how every time that we thought, like, oh, crap, they're going to get caught, some other character, like Elsa or I wish we remembered what that character's name have.
I'm going to pull my phone. We'll find it.
Whatever. There's always someone there who kind of just like grabs an arm with a gun
saves them,
and they just kind of keep walking. And I thought that was pretty badass. That it was like, yeah, my clique, squad goals, whatever you want to call it. They're all just like right there where they needed to be. I thought it helped, like the scene moved really well because they never pause for more than maybe a second or two.
Okay, so Henry Cavill is August.
Oh,
Walker.
Walker. That's what they call him. Okay.
Okay, great.
Gotcha.
All right, so Walker. I'm going to remember that. Okay. So we end up leaving the arms dealer. We end up finding out that I need his name, Sean. The guy who plays Sean Harris. So I love Sean Harris. He's the guy who plays the villain in this. Solomon Lane. Solomon Lane. And he doesn't end up being the ultimate end all be all bad guy. He's still very bad, obviously.
I mean, he's the leader of the bad guy. That kind of makes him the worst bad guy.
No, not as bad as Walker though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
But I mean, Walker was doing what he said, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we find out that the character who's being transported, Sean Harris, who so Sean Harris, he also plays Fifril and Prometheus, where I saw him in.
Was he the map guy?
He was the guy who ended up coming back as a zombie.
Was
and
he
entering
a
the ship
geologist
again.
in that one?
He was a geologist.
Yes.
Well, because they had a geologist and a rock and it was an archaeologist, not a geologist, and someone else in that movie, and a biologist maybe. It was the two basically the two misfits in the group. But anyway, I met Sean Harris actually. Didn't meet him actually. I saw him for the first time on a show called The Borgias, which is an awesome show about the Italian Medici family, and he played the assassin in that too. That was real good. So a big fan. Anyway, we find out he's being transported, and we find out that Tom Cruise and Ethan Hunt and Walker have been enlisted to basically kill everybody, but we know that's not how Ethan Hunt's character operates, so he finds another way. He ends up staging themselves both in a semi-truck or some kind of truck. They wait for the procession of cars to come through with the prisoner, and they end up ramming it right into the river. And while all this is going on, which I have a problem with this scene too, while all this is going on, they end up on a chase leading everybody away from the prisoner while is it not Henry Cavill? Is it Henry Cavill that saves him?
It's Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg's character.
Yeah,
Ving Rhames and
Benji
Simon Pegg.
Benji,
and
Luther. I should remember that one.
So
did anyone, if I may mention, did anyone else get a Dark Knight vibe from this scene?
a little bit. Yeah.
Like it's like, someone getting transported, a police escort, helicopters, literally the shot of a semi hitting a truck into the water.
I just thought of Deadpool too because we just saw it, and that was the last time I saw a prisoner being transported.
also very good.
Yeah.
Did you think was Walker involved with that plan, or was he also surprised by this plan change?
He was.
He was surprised, yeah.
Okay, because I wasn't sure.
No, he had to have known because he got on the motorcycle with Ethan.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay, yep,
That's
you're
true.
right.
They had their own separate plan from the one that
I just wasn't
the
sure.
White Widow wanted.
Right.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if this was Ethan Hunt also not trusting Walker, or if it was just him not trusting the White Widow's men. But I guess that makes sense, because they definitely jumped on those motorcycles, so they had that all planned out.
That's right.
So Ving Rhames' character Luther and Simon Pegg's character Benji, they go into the water to save the prisoner, while Walker and Ethan Hunt lead away the all the police and the pursuers. But what I don't understand is that if they didn't kill anybody, why would the police just leave the prisoner to drown?
Yeah. That's a very valid point.
Right.
Like, nobody went in to help him at all. Just
Yeah.
like, yeah, screw him.
There wasn't like a shootout or like a
That's a very valid
reroute
point.
or
Well, yeah, because even the police officers who were driving the truck that Lane was
Oh, yeah,
tied
they-
up in, they kind of just got out of the truck
Like-
and were like, all right.
They're
see
like,
you
they
later."
take like a minute. They're like, oh, we need to help. Nah,
Nah.
never mind. Screw
And
it.
then they
just
swam
swam
out.
away. And then, yeah, you're right. They just left the truck.
I didn't think of that at
Yeah.
the time,
Good call.
but that's
I
weird.
I saw it and thought it was really weird.
The most wanted man in the world. Just, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, he's dead now. That's
Moving
kind of
on.
what they
Let's go get Ethan
thought.
Hunt.
Job's done.
Well, as we move on,
Actually, come to think of it, too,
Yeah.
I will bring it up in a
Yeah.
second, but wasn't it her goal to get him anyway?
yeah.
So then why did she, like, I guess maybe in theory she knew that everything wasn't on the up and up.
there was a
so.
little bit of a plot.
That might be a hole there.
Mix up.
She
Yeah.
like really she knew that plan. She like knew where they were gonna go and everything. It was ridiculous. And then
Yeah.
again, so did White Widow's men too. They showed up. So you know what? I'm not even gonna question it.
Yeah.
Just chalk it
It
up
is
to
what it is.
spy technology. Someone had a tracer on them. Who knows?
So they go on this big chase, and they basically end up being pursued by Ilsa, who comes by them on the motorcycle. Which, yes, of course, why wouldn't she just get the guy when she knew they were there, when she knew what the plan was?
Yep.
But anyway, they go on this huge chase. They end up escaping on motorcycles, finally, after running over Ilsa. Well, she's going over the car, I guess, not running.
Yeah, everyone
running
got hit by
under.
cars and didn't get hurt. There was no broken
limp for-
bones by all the car
except-
carrying.
except real
for
ones.
a little bit.
It was great when
Yeah.
Ethan Hunt he falls off the bike and then still sticking to the plan, limps his way over to
Yeah.
the sewer grate. Like,
Yeah,
pull that
right.
in there.
You guys noticed obviously that his bike didn't start, and it was definitely Walker
Yeah.
messed with his bike.
Oh no, I didn't even think.
I
twice.
actually didn't get
I
that.
thought that he
Really?
did, 'cause
I
we-
believe it, but at
Makes
the time I
it
did
makes
not
total
get it.
sense.
They kept
I
dropping
thought
those
that he
hints. They kept dropping those hints all movie, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little things would go wrong with Tom Cruise's stuff.
Yeah, we actually forgot to mention a major hint. We don't realize it till later, which is probably why I didn't remember it. But when we're in the bathroom and they're fighting the Asian guy, they take his phone. It's clearly cracked.
Oh yeah.
It's clearly cracked. Later on, when Walker gives
Yeah.
that phone to Angela Bassett, the U.S. government, to try to frame Tom Cruise, which we'll talk about later, she says, "I know he's Lark. I know he is. Here's all the proof." And she hands him a phone.
He hands her the phone.
He hands her the phone. I'm sorry. He hands her the phone, and it's supposed to be that phone that was broken that had all of the information on it, but it's a brand new phone. So it's obvious that at that point that
Good catch.
what's going on. Yeah.
I didn't catch either of those things.
Yeah, we
I caught the
it.
phone. I didn't catch the motorcycle thing.
I caught that I was supposed to catch something.
That was
about
very,
the phone.
very, very minor.
What-
Superman's not very noble.
One thing, it's like super not important or major at all, but I mentioned it to Evan when we walked out, is that the chase when Elsa's on the motorcycle chasing Ethan Hunt in the car, that's a pretty extensive chase scene, like very high action. And I was kind of bummed that I knew it was her the whole time because of the trailer. Because in the trailer, they reveal her lifting the helmet, and we don't see the chase, but you know that she's on that black motorcycle. So when they started that chase, I would have definitely liked it if I didn't know who that was. I feel like it would have added a little bit more
Suspense.
interest and a little
Yeah.
more suspense to be like, who is this mysterious person on this motorcycle wearing all black?
Yeah.
But because I knew it was her, I was like, oh yeah, that's Elsa. And like, I feel like that I don't know. That was just one thing that I noticed that kind of bummed me out a little, but that was my only negative for the entire 2.5-hour movie, so I'm not really upset about it.
Yeah. So they end up kidnapping Sean Harris. Why do I keep calling him Lane?
Lane.
So they got Lane from the submerged police transport vehicle
that nobody went in to rescue.
So
Impossible. It's underwater.
yeah. So Benji and Luther are driving a boat around with this prisoner in it, kind of just perusing the way. It seems like they meet him at the aqueduct.
They like rendezvous,
Yeah. And Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt, I'm sorry, he ends up going into a church at one point. I think
During a funeral.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
We're skipping a little bit.
We're
on there,
skipping.
though.
I think that's a little bit
Yeah,
later.
that's later.
That's a little bit later. So Tom Cruise, this is when he escapes down the netted aqueduct.
Right.
So he ends up finding himself in a spot where there's cop cars everywhere. What is he gonna do? He pulls out his knife. We're all thinking, what the hell is he gonna do with his knife? He's gonna try to fight 15 police officers. He jumps over a bush, and then when we see what's on the other side of the bush, there's a big aqueduct hole with netting, and he's cut his way through and fell down to the bottom. And where he met Luther
And Benji. Yep.
and Benji. They go on their way, and they find this weird aqueduct interrogation room. I don't know what else to call it.
Is that where they met? Who's the older
The
agent?
base of all.
guy?
Walk.
Yeah. So we're
Alec
introduced.
Baldwin's character. Is that when they met him?
That's not when they met him for the first time, but that's when they met up with him.
Right.
It's only a second scene.
But that scene when they're in the aqueduct in the water and they get out of the boat,
That's
that's
the
what
scene.
happens
There's,
next,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No, there's like the in between. They come out of like some sort of facility. There's that like traffic meter cop waiting for them.
Oh, right.
Oh,
And that's
right,
when
yeah.
White Widow's men try to like kill him.
Yeah.
He gets away with that. And that's when they get in the car and leave, and then
Elsa
Elsa
chases
finds
them.
them. So
Right.
Okay,
it's like
so I
two
had that a
chases in
little
one.
out of
yeah.
order.
Right.
And
That's
then
pretty confusing.
when they get away from Elsa, though, that's when they get to whatever this underground
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin lair is.
Because that's where they end up getting ambushed basically again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This scene's like there's so many little twists in this scene that
Yeah, we go
Yeah,
back
I
and
love
forth
that.
quite a lot.
Very
in
late.
this one. So they have Sean Harris and they're talking to him, trying to get him to give over information. They trick him too, don't they?
Yep.
I don't
No.
think so at that point, but they use him to trick
Walker.
Walker.
Unknowingly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even I didn't see that one coming. I was actually surprised. I'm just so used to the Mission Impossible mask trick.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
got me on that one.
Yeah.
I did not see the switch at all.
Yeah. So is that later in the movie? No, that's proper.
It's like that
That's right
scene,
there.
and yep, it's like
It's when they give him the file saying that
Ethan
Ethan Hunt
John
is
Lark.
is compromised because they say he's John Lark.
Yeah.
In Ethan Hunt, and he basically gets told the mission is terminated.
Yeah.
Because we have all this evidence against you.
Yeah.
And he says like, no, I refuse. Like this is not how it goes. And then something must happen that we don't see where they plan to do this
Yep.
little twist on Walker.
yep.
'Cause
They
I'm not really
knock
sure
out Baldwin. They're like
when
Baldwin's
that
knocked
happened.
out, and like we gotta go rogue on Baldwin,
Right.
and except they didn't.
Except they did.
Yeah.
I
It
think
was-
it was all part of the plan.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it was totally part of the plan. It was like,
Oh,
He gave him the heads up.
yeah,
that
exactly, yeah.
when do you
Someone's
think?
been talking to her.
When do you think they knew to suspect Walker? Was it because the woman spoke,
I
the
think
CIA
That's a good
spoke to
question.
Maybe
them?
not suspect Walker, but just not to trust him from
Exactly.
the very
That
beginning.
was the gist I got.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just curious, like that twist where they trick him and they find out he really is John Lark. I don't know where in the story they would have had the time to kind of plan that out, because it seemed like it all happened right one thing after another. So they must have
It pretty much
put it
does.
together like way before that.
Yeah. Pretty much everything
Yeah.
from like them sitting on the side of the road waiting for Lane's truck is like what, an hour, 2 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really quick.
Right.
So let's explain what happened during this scene. So this mask software that they used, they tell Walker, or Walker is in present hearing that Sean Pegg is going impersonating of Lane, the villain, and going to basically try to secure the plutonium. Same deal, but Walker's not filled in that what happened is Simon Pegg Benji is actually the one with the mask on, sitting interrogating in the chair as Lane. So when Walker goes to talk to him about deals that he's made with Lane,
which I found kind of absurd that he just did it just like that. They're like, he like looks over his shoulders, like, here's the whole plot.
he like just
This
gave
is
it
who I am.
Right, right.
Oh, Ethan Hunt's not here. This is what's going on. I'm John Lark.
Right.
I'm like, you did that way too quick.
I think Lane knew from the beginning, though, that Walker was John Lark.
No, I think he did too.
Well, they were working
But it was just
together.
funny that he just did it.
Yeah, they were working together.
Like, you could tell, like, screenwriter, this is a screenwriter talking, like, they just saved time. They just got right to it. But I felt like he wouldn't have just revealed everything in, like, 2 seconds after Ethan and, like, the guys left.
Lane was Walker's boss, essentially, though. So if you see your boss who kills people tied up to a chair, you're probably going to take the first second you have to free him, I would think, because they had this whole plan already.
Not necessarily. Lane was basically a tool to use because all he was being done is, since the prior movie Rogue Nation, all he's been doing is being passed around by governments and being interrogated.
Right, so
He's
like,
essentially a plot device.
like currency,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
trading.
You know, we forgot to mention that too. That kind of an important part of the whole like suspense of it is Ethan Hunt has to pretend that he's John Lark.
Yeah.
So he has to kidnap Lane, and Lane knows who Ethan Hunt is. So
Right.
he couldn't hide his identity from him.
Right.
So he had to somehow balance getting Lane, seeing Lane face to face, without letting White Widow and this mysterious real John Lark know that he's literally Ethan Hunt.
Well, I think that was the main point of changing the plan, because he knew if the plan went the way that White Widow wanted it to go, they very quickly would have
Figured it
been
out, yeah.
aware that he was not John Lark. So
that was part of it,
He
yeah.
made his own plan to ensure that his identity wouldn't be compromised.
Which is also why
Yeah.
he was the one kind of distracting all the police too, so he wouldn't be there when they got Lane.
Yeah. So at this point, we finally find out that our suspicions were true, that
From
Walker,
literally like the first time we see him, like there's no
Yeah.
way this guy's on the up and up.
So Walker, Henry Cavill, same person, is also Jonathan Lark, which is the big villain.
Mysterious villain.
So he's the one who wrote the manifesto that they keep referencing, that suffering leads to peace, or whatever
they say
that
a
quote
lot,
is
yeah.
that they said
More
multiple
Great
times.
suffering
The
leads to
greater,
great peace.
Yeah, the greater the suffering.
the greater the peace.
Exactly.
right? Yep. Because he admits that in that scene with Lane. I wrote that because blah blah blah. So that's
yeah.
kind of
What did he
kind
say?
of clears that up for everybody too, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So right after we find out that he's Jonathan Lark, we end up getting a call from the government. Government doesn't trust Tom Cruise anymore. And then an ambush occurs where there's a fun line that we just call him Lark now. There's a fun.
Lark. No Cavill.
It's easier. So there's a fun line that Lark says with Tom Cruise asks him, "We have all the weapons in this room. What are you waiting for?" And then he turns to him and goes, "Are you sure?" And then his ambush happens.
Yep.
So the ambush happens. Alec Baldwin gets shot finally. Sorry, I'm just kidding. I just hate Alec Baldwin. He was
Really?
good in this movie, though.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah.
He was good in this movie, but I don't like him.
Before we go on to, I did like the part where Angela Bassett's kind of on the phone. And they're
Yeah.
like, "Hey, we got him. We got Lark for you. Let's arrest him." And she's like, "I don't trust any of you.
Yeah, you're all
I'm
coming to
arresting all of you.
Washington."
We'll figure this out later." Like, we can't do that. Too bad.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
It was just a great little moment for her character. Just nope, don't trust any of you.
Yeah,
Right.
You're all wearing masks. I don't know. Who cares?
yeah.
Arrest you all.
So they go on a big chase at this point.
Foot chase. Yeah.
This is the epic foot chase that ends up on top
This
of the
is
building.
the quintessential Tom Cruise running scene.
Running
Right,
and
yeah.
You can't have a
running
Mission
and
Impossible
running.
without him just running.
Such stamina.
And then it leads us to the scene where he's running and being guided by Benji, Simon Pegg,
Yep.
which is kind of funny.
I liked that that banter when he's like, "Why is he running in circles?" Like
Yeah.
those little lines. Like I thought that added, because otherwise it's literally just
Every time
Ethan
he
Hunt
had
running.
the map screwed up from it being backwards.
Yeah.
Just the
Oh.
2D,
Only
3D.
2D.
It was great.
Okay.
And this is the scene of the church that you mentioned earlier.
That's
too.
the church.
Yeah.
This is when he runs into the church, and they have like a Mexican standoff. A bunch of guys. He ends up running away.
Actually, he gets away with. I didn't even realize that how easily he got away from them. He slams the door and they're gone.
Because if you think about it, he was
locked.
walking
Tom
around.
Cruise is really fast.
He did look pretty fast.
You look,
I
I don't have that
I
cardio.
saw that movie with Ryan, and as soon as we got out, he goes, "Boy, that Tom Cruise sure is fast, huh?"
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Very fast.
So he ends up on top of a building where he just misses catching Lark, and he flies away in the helicopter, and we have that scene where we think the movie's over and it's going to be a sequel.
Maybe,
There will probably be one, but not.
But we
not
knew
for
better. And a little production note there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that's the scene where he broke or twisted his
Yeah,
ankle.
when he jumped from that to the
That's the one.
building
Yep.
roof, you can almost see it.
They think they showed.
Oh wait,
yeah.
he actually did
Yeah.
break.
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Oh, he did something,
Oh,
yeah. And they shut down production for like 6 weeks and paid the whole crew 6
Oh,
weeks
wow.
not to take anything else.
Wow.
Do that.
That'd be nice, yeah. Get on a cruise set.
Right.
You'll get a 6-week vacation.
Before the helicopter, though, when Walker or John Lark gets in the elevator and Ethan Hunt is kind of hanging underneath it, that's the moment where we get more of Ethan Hunt's motivation because he shows him a picture of
yeah.
Julia.
That's right.
And he
Yeah,
says,
yeah.
I know where she is. If you talk to her, she's dead. If you try to warn her, she's dead. So, like, I think that was a pretty important moment because we can see more of the emotional side of Ethan Hunt, and he kind of gets, like, his new focus. Not new focus, because obviously throughout the whole movie he's
renewed.
focusing on her.
Very more.
Yeah,
But-
renewed focus.
Right.
And we should take a minute to mention before they meet up with Baldwin. I think it's a scene with Ilsa where we find out her motivation is how do you say it? MI6, which is ironic given Mission Impossible 6.
That's what we were talking
That's
about.
what I wasn't sure about.
Yeah.
I was like, is that a reference?
No, that's
to-
just
to
the
it,
British
or-
intelligence.
Right, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. She was she has to make up for what she did in the past movie, and her objective is to kill Lane
Right.
at all costs. So
For her freedom.
yeah, and so we've seen her running around the entire movie. We weren't entirely sure why. She took Ethan Hunt aside, told him, and thereby explaining her motivation. And I forget how that works out when she ends up joining the team. How did that happen?
They didn't really
just
come full
happened.
circle on it. They didn't really explain it that well.
She just kind of showed up and was just like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
with you guys right now.
Yeah.
Well, was that the moment when Luther kind of sits her down and tells her about Julia? And
Yeah, it was
then she
somewhere in
stands
there.
up and she says, I'm coming with you. And Ethan Hunt says, I know.
Oh yeah, I only
all
trust the
that.
people in this room. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he gets away, and then they have to figure out how they're going to get him, of course. They end up tracing them to this small village in
Kashmir.
Kashmir.
Kashmir? Yeah.
Which, as a friend pointed
Pakistan and
out,
China.
was never Kashmir. It was like New Zealand, Norway, where they shot it. It was never actually
Oh,
Kashmir.
yeah.
I doubt it.
It was like 3 different countries, but
New
it
Zealand's
wasn't.
got good mountains.
They shoot a
Yeah.
lot of stuff in New Zealand.
They do.
Beautiful, yeah.
So Kashmir is also the place where they frame Ethan Hunt for delivering smallpox to villages nearby, which is actually something that Lark did. That's just the charge that's on the name Jonathan Lark. So they get to this village, and it's some kind of basically, what would you say that you would call that?
It's almost like a quarantine zone.
Yeah.
It's a medical camp.
Yeah.
Yeah,
medical-
big medical camp. Yeah, that's probably the best way to say it.
for the smallpox.
For the small
right?
part,
Yeah.
yeah. They wanted to get a bunch of victims there anyway, including, as we
Julia.
find out, Julia. So,
Yeah. So Julia, we should go into, is from
Ethan's
Mission
wife.
Impossible 3,
yep.
established as his wife. I think she kind of disappears at the beginning of Ghost Protocol, and then towards the end we kind of see her again. I think that's how that went down.
Yeah.
And we know, like, she's alive, she knows he's alive, and everyone's fine, but they totally forgot all about her in the 5th one, so it was kind
Yeah.
of refreshing to bring her back for this one.
So because I haven't seen the more
Yeah, I'm
recent
kind of
ones,
flaky on them.
how
too.
much time has passed since they split to now? Because now she has a new husband. So was
Yeah.
that like a really quick turnaround, or
I
has
think
it
it's
been
I think
like?
it's fairly real time to when the movies came
Yeah,
out.
that's what I'm thinking.
So-
They don't really say
Yeah.
it, but it seems like it's about
Right. 'cause-
I would assume.
I think
When was the 3rd one? Do we know offhand? When
What was the third one? It
When
was-
was the 3rd one? With J.J. Abrams was the director of that one. I want to say it was early 2000s.
It's gotta be early
So
2000s.
we're looking at
Yeah.
around a decade, I
Okay.
would say. Yeah.
Because when she says oh, this is my husband. I was like,
What-
ouch! Oh, I felt it.
And Wes
I felt
Bentley
the
just
pain.
shows up.
So mad. Tom Cruise looked upset too, because she looks a little bit like Katie Holmes.
She kind of does a little, I guess.
And she lies to Ethan and says, we met at MGH. I had to toss that in there because my wife works at MGH. So
Oh,
she
yeah.
was like, she loved the Boston shout out in the middle of the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was funny too at the end when the husband thanks him as Doctor or so and so.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Pronin.
Oh, and he's just
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah,
Thanks,
you'll be
Dr. Pronin.
Good job, Doc. Like, totally on the end at this point.
So we overhear too also that Jonathan Lark is the caller who called in and funded, underwrit their
Oh,
Right.
entire thing.
Guardian Angel.
So he planned this whole thing.
He's also her personal overseer for the CIA that keeps her in protection.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't.
I didn't get
I
that.
missed
I
that
didn't hear that
entirely.
one.
Yeah, I missed that entirely.
Huh. Wow.
So basically, the whole thing was set up so
That's
that
how
she
he
was
knows
there.
where she is at all times.
What an ass.
He's charged with protecting her.
Huh. Okay.
So the reason. Here's something funny that I think. So in all these movies, when there's always like a bomb plot to disengage these bombs, why is it always that out of the blue they just know how the bomb's built? They just
In
know how
this
to dismantle
case,
it.
I think it was.
Well, they had the encrypted cell phone.
Yeah.
Oh, and that
they-
had all the
from
data.
Right.
Doctor in the beginning.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah,
whole
and they
point
showed
of the phone.
all
Yeah.
the bombs plans,
Yeah.
and that's how they figure, well,
Exactly.
there's no real way to shut this off.
Yeah.
And then they find the one way, which
He studied it on the way. Yeah, like,
Yeah,
Got it.
2 minutes after saying
That's
there's
another
no
thing I
way,
like.
he's like, oh wait, I just figured it out.
We got it.
whenever they don't have a plan, they're like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Like that's
Working
one
on it.
callback
We're working on it.
throughout the whole movie. We're working on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this
That's
is
true, yeah.
This is what they have to do. So they go into this village. They have to find these two bombs that are both hidden, that have the plutonium cores inside them, that are armed at 15 minutes. There's a detonator, and they can't just disengage one of the bombs because the other bomb will go off. They can't just disengage both of the bombs because the detonator will force the bombs to go off. So they need to...
They need the key.
Yeah.
You need to get the key out of the detonator and then simultaneously turn off both bombs. Right?
Right.
Within the
cutting
countdown.
By cutting a series of cords, turning screws.
Yeah.
Which can only be done once the bombs have
Yeah.
And you
already
need
started
two
counting
people
down.
to do it because Ving Rhames can't do it
And-
by himself.
This whole sequence was very Nolan-y too. I'm gonna get to that in a second, but
Yeah.
just the concurrent like timelines. I mean, all
It was.
storylines. Just. But we'll get to that when you continue. Yeah.
Oh, it was. So Ving Rhames, like you said, he can't figure out himself, so Julia comes along and
Well, he
helps him.
can, but he doesn't have enough.
Well,
He doesn't have enough
we have to
money.
mention
Yeah.
too. They actually have to find the bombs first
and it's
before
a
they.
Right.
trouble
Yeah.
because
So
it's in a medical camp. There's all the X-rays, so
All the
they're
X-
all putting off radiation.
Right.
good point.
Yep.
So you've got Benji just smashing crates trying to find something.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. Luther just found one. Like he just saw like a thing.
Well, it
sticking
was
out. He's
up
like,
on
one
the
done.
yeah.
He just like he saw the radio tower. And he's
Yeah.
just like, "There's one. Go find the other one."
I loved Benji's line where he goes to shoot the lock off of the locker and he just goes, nuclear bombs!
Yep,
And
that
he
was great.
decides not to shoot it. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Simon Pegg on his A game the whole movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
This might be my favorite character that he plays
Yeah.
in all of his movies.
Even over
He's
like
really
Hot
good.
Fuzz.
I have a soft spot for Shaun of the Dead.
Heartbeat.
So
All right. Well, I mean, I love Shaun of the Dead too,
Yep.
but Hot,
Hot
Fuzz,
Fuzz
really.
is so good.
Hot Fuzz.
I think so.
Really.
I think so. Yeah. Well, he plays his character perfectly. I think
It's written for him.
it's meant for him.
Right. Well, he's one of those,
Actually, I just Scotty is also on this list because
Yeah,
I think he
he's
does
good.
a very good Scotty
Yeah.
for a franchise I'm not the biggest fan of.
Yeah,
but
I'm not a big fan of Star Trek, but he does play it well.
So Ving Rhames finds the
One bomb.
one bomb in the antenna, and then while Simon Pegg, Benji is looking for the other bomb
with
With
Elsa.
Elsa, yeah.
with Elsa, we find the bomb is inside the house that
Yep.
Lane is staying in. Lane has
He's going to kill
decided.
himself because
Suicide.
That's it.
Yeah. So Lane
His
has
job's
decided.
complete.
Lane has decided he's not running anymore. He's gonna blow himself up with this final act of defiance or criminal activity or whatever the heck you want to call it. So he stayed behind, whereas he tells Walker Lark to get as far away as you can. You'll be able to get the minimum safest distance if you go now in the helicopter.
And he has the
He is the
Detonator.
detonator. So he leaves in the helicopter. They find the 2 bombs. They're dismantling the bombs. While that happens, Tom Cruise has hijacked a helicopter by first climbing up a bag of
Cargo,
crap
yeah.
that I assume was only theirs to give him a
Yep.
way to do something.
Yeah.
Twice.
Twice.
He climbed up
That's
and then
right.
fell off and then
Yeah.
climbed up again.
The guy looked over the side. Just,
The American Ninja Warrior. There's
Yeah.
nothing on Ethan Hunt.
yeah.
You can,
I had-
like, how the hell did he do that? He like fell all the way down,
Yeah.
clung on, and still had the upper body strength to get back up.
I had
It was
PTSD
amazing.
of gym class when I
Yep.
was told to
Oh, yeah.
climb the rope
Oh,
and I
there you
never
go.
could.
Yeah. So he ends up getting up to the helicopter. He is a really funny scene when he just appears in the helicopter door, and the guy's like,
Right, 'cause you're like, what do you do in this
They
moment?
both mouth it too,
yeah,
because it's PG-13, so they can only use one F word. They
yeah.
both can mouth it.
That
Which Cavill
works.
got, right?
It's fair.
Cavill got the
pretty
one
sure
F.
he-
I think
yeah.
he was saying like motherfucker to Lane for some reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
They had a lot of really funny
When he
moments.
realized that Simon Pegg was.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a lot of really funny moments where it was just like funny shots.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just like when the wide shot of Tom Cruise making no progress climbing up the rope was funny. Or when they were shooting Tom Cruise running from this group of police officers in the city, and then they cut to the shot of the police officers, but it's the same angle kind of, so it's like a jump cut, so it just looks like they're running forever. That was pretty funny. But anyway, we get to he has the helicopter.
And he is
kidnaps
chasing Lark.
He kidnaps the helicopter. He's chasing Lark. Lark finds out and goes, I guess I'll pull out this.
Well, you forgot that he learns to fly a helicopter on the go.
With
Oh,
like,
that's
Because
in
they
like
all
2
question it.
minutes.
They all question it. It seemed like he knows how to fly a helicopter.
Yeah.
Can't be that hard,
I
right?
was thinking of Tom Segura's skit where he talks about Steven Seagal. Yeah, I've been flying a helicopter for about 50 years. Remember that skit?
I don't think I know that one.
Ah.
Oh, I'm so disappointed in myself.
It's worth
right
mentioning
now.
too that Tom
Try
Cruise
it out.
took like a quick flash, like he took like 6 weeks of training so he could do all his helicopter.
Oh,
flying.
really?
Yep.
That's
That's
nuts
pretty
to me.
cool.
I don't know how many of the shots are a helicopter, because it looked like it was fairly CGI, but Tom Cruise doing Tom Cruise, he's gonna do his own stunts and no one's gonna stop him. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that when he was just like, okay, power, okay, up. Like, there's like 700 buttons and lights, and he's just like, I got the 2 that I need. I'm gonna figure this out.
That was the button to drop the cargo and the stick hold.
that was great.
Yeah.
He just like figured that out, and just
Which
which
he
I did like.
misses.
I like how I
does.
liked that, like a quick throwaway. Like you thought that might work. Nope.
Yeah. He's like, hey,
close.
hold this for me. Just misses. Like, that's great.
So when he tries to drop the cargo on top of Lark's helicopter, it doesn't work. He misses. He decides that the only way he's going to be able to do anything at this point, especially because his plane catches fire, is to just
He's like
ram
running
him.
out of fuel. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
So he's gonna ram this other helicopter. So they eventually go over this snowy hilltop. You see some snow come up. You think that his helicopter's going down. He's not gonna get him. He ends up getting him. The 2 helicopters crash in a silly crash that would never happen without anyone unscathed.
Because they would definitely
pilot
blow
does.
up.
Huh?
Pilot's
Pilot
killed.
does.
Yeah.
Pilot's not a lead actor.
Those helicopters
Oh,
would
yeah,
have
no.
definitely blown up, though,
Yeah.
if they hit that
Maybe.
hard. Don't you think?
Blowing up's more
They
of a
would have
movie
blown
trope.
up.
Yeah, they would have blown. Up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Blowing up's more of a movie thing. Maybe they wouldn't have.
I
Who
mean,
knows?
I don't know, but I feel like going that fast and falling.
I love how they both just conveniently got right into that crevice, like just enough to get
Oh,
launched.
yeah.
But not, I'm like, this is awesome.
So 2 helicopters roll down the mountain. They end up in this vertical crevice.
One on top of the other.
And then all of a sudden Tom Cruise's helicopter falls, and then we see Lark's character. A wire comes loose with all of the engine fuel or some kind of hot
Oh,
fuel
yeah.
burns the
Yeah,
shit out of
one
his
side
face.
makes
Yeah.
him look like Two-Face.
Another Dark Knight reference.
You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So that happens, and then they have their final showdown, their fight. which
Final fist fight.
It's actually kind of short-lived.
Well, it's probably shorter lived than you think because they're too busy cutting to Benji. Like
Yeah.
because
You're right.
At
Benji-
Oh, right.
At this point, they only had like 3 to 5 minutes left before everything was done, I think.
Right.
So they gotta kind of speed that up a little
Yep.
bit. Plus, Superman's burned.
Yep.
And the helicopter is conveniently lodged on that one edge of rock because
Such
that
a
hook
strong hook.
that was
Isn't
there.
that great?
Well, as soon as they showed the shot of the hook like dangling, I was like, okay, something's gonna happen
Yep.
with this.
I liked how it unhooked and then got lodged again somehow. Like
Yeah.
the physics on that would never work. Like
It
that thing would
not.
just
Yeah,
swing
that
up
would,
a
that
million.
would go through the whole. That would
But it
go
was
through.
still funny.
I was a little surprised that Ethan Hunt
Strong rope.
killed him. Like, I mean, I think he should have killed him for sure, but I was surprised when he was just like, I'm just gonna pull this rope and you're going down.
He
and
had-
I'm
They had
standing.
to, yeah.
Seconds. He had
No, I
seconds.
know. I just thought.
He's a jerk.
Which is
On his convenient rock ledge, also. Like,
well, I
perfectly
liked
cut
that because
out.
that's a throwback to the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know, his
I actually got
barehanded
that
rock
one.
That's
climbing,
what
yeah.
I thought. I was like, this is the stupid
looked
rock climbing
familiar.
scene again.
Yep.
This is
I
a
did
throwback.
catch that one. That was the only throwback.
Did anyone
I
else
got.
get an Inception vibe from this scene too?
Not really.
Because you really have you had 3 simultaneous timelines. Like you got Luther over here,
maybe
you have
it's
Benji
this-
here, and you have Tom Cruise here.
Yeah.
And they have to do this simultaneously, essentially.
Maybe-
Just like the kicks when they have to get out of it. So
Maybe the cinematographer is the same guy that works on all of Nolan's
I
movies.
don't
that-
think so.
If you're picking up all this, because The Dark
yeah, no.
Knight.
Oh,
That's true too. Yeah, I
That's a
didn't
good
even
point.
think that was a Nolan. Why didn't that
Yeah.
even occur to me?
Yeah.
What I did
Getting all
like-
these fans of Nolan movies.
But
maybe
no,
it's the
I'm
same
pretty
cinematographer.
sure it's not Wally Feister, who is the DP for Nolan. And,
No, it's
yeah.
not. Yeah, I remember the name.
Yeah.
What I did like is I liked how it seemed like there was an overall theme when I saw the throwback to the rock climbing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought of the name Fallout and the fact that we're calling back like several different characters from other series. The first time they've called back characters like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And it just seems like the entire theme of everything was just Fallout in general, like Fallout from the past movies. Fallout in general seemed like a theme.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I like
Well, I think it was Solomon Lane's character who says this is the Fallout. Like
Does he?
in one of his dramatic dialogues with Ethan Hunt, he says Fallout for sure. I don't remember the direct quote, but that was the one, I think, reference to the title that worked.
Yeah.
It wasn't in like a cringy way. It actually worked well with the dialogue, which
Love
was
when they say the movie's name.
Yeah.
I always look.
We do like a Pee Wee Herman like
I always just one of these.
like yes. But
So we end up, the fight scene happens. We see Lark get, which I was praying for it to happen. The hook goes right through his head and pulls him
and
down.
everyone just
That was
Bad
a
way to
gruesome
go.
death.
That was good.
finally.
See his head smash on the rocks.
Yeah.
And
nice.
Luther's got the bomb ready on his end. Elsa has
And
successfully fought Lane and saved Benji.
Yep.
So they're ready to disarm their bomb.
Yep. So they disarm the bombs. Everything is good. Tom Cruise wakes up in the hospital at the.
Oh, no, I was going to say, we had 1 minute, and Ethan Hunt has to clear bare hand of mountainside.
Oh, you got. I mean,
Right.
I just assumed that's another thing that we can wipe under the rug.
Oh, okay.
How he climbed up in time, just in,
And it was just in
in
his mouth.
seconds.
They didn't even show it either, yeah.
They didn't even know he did. They're like,
Yeah.
well,
They
he
don't even
doesn't,
show us,
He
yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, just
They took it really well.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah. Wait till the 1 minute,
got one
1 second.
shot on it.
Either way, they're not going to feel anything.
Yeah.
extreme.
True,
faith.
yeah.
They would just get blown
like-
up.
They're right in
So,
it, yeah,
The
they're gone.
difference of life or
But-
death is only 1 second.
Ethan Hunt turns it just in time
Yeah.
and saves everybody.
Yep.
So then he wakes up in the medical facility, and Julia comes in, and they have their words, and he says, her husband says, "Bye, Dr. Prone."
Wes
Idiot.
Bentley.
Her husband's the nicest guy, but I hate him.
Yeah, I hated him too.
You hated him?
Yeah,
He
I
looks
didn't
like
like his
it.
shitty.
Wes
grin.
Bentley has a way of just looking like
Tom
he's
Cruise looked
arrogant.
heartbroken
Yeah.
when she was remarried.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's a really nice guy, though.
No, I don't know about that. He'll be a villain in the next one.
probably.
He is John Lark. It's all a big twist. You'll see.
So that's pretty much caps off the movie. Do we have our end? We have our That's the last thing that happens.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. There's kind of a romantic inclination between Hunt and Elsa that doesn't come to fruition, but it seems like they're planning.
It seemed like that the whole movie, but
Yeah.
but at the end, I'm like, I'm really not.
Well,
seeing
even
it
in the
now.
last movie,
That was
It was
it.
kind of
Yeah.
like that tension between the two of them.
Which hasn't come to fruition yet. So
And then they give Lane back to MI6.
yes,
So
absolving,
Elsa is free.
absolving Elsa. She's she can come out of the cold.
Cool. Yeah. So that pretty much wraps up the movie.
Scene. Mission Impossible 7. We'll see.
There will be one.
Oh, it's
Most
gonna
likely.
happen.
There'll be
This
one.
movie was just a monster.
I don't
so.
think it's ever gonna
Yeah.
die.
Biggest
I don't know.
opening for a Mission Impossible movie.
We'll just say.
Yeah.
Like 62 million almost.
Yeah.
It's almost made back its production budget, so another 100 million and it'll be profitable.
And it hasn't even opened in China.
Oh, they love
Oh,
Tom
really?
Cruise over
Nope.
there.
And it's
They
already.
love Tom Cruise.
They do. They love
I
Tom
believe
Cruise
you.
and Matt Damon.
They love Matt Damon.
That's why he was in that silly movie, The Wall.
The Great Wall.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which apparently kind of
Over
bombed
there.
over there too. Like it was a hit, but not as big as they were.
It was profitable though.
Yeah, it wasn't huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, it didn't work out to their liking apparently. So
So in closing, let's get from Rob you a letter, so a number grade. So let's like out of 10, what do you think you would give this movie, and what were your favorite parts of it, and what were, if anything, something that you really hated or wish they didn't do?
I'd probably give it about an 8 to an 8.5.
I'm in that.
So
ballpark.
solid B plus, if you would give it a letter grade. My favorite things in it were obviously the chase scenes. I loved Henry Cavill doing the shotgun arms from the trailer. I just thought it looked really cool for some reason.
It did. No, it was
And,
totally. It was probably because it was on beat. Like you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
As far as things I didn't like, I mean, there's all the little things that you guys mentioned, but there wasn't one thing that stuck out where I was like, I really wish they shouldn't have done that. But all in all, I definitely would say that Henry Cavill's mustache was worth it. The Justice League.
I had a friend
cares
point out how
about that
like how
movie?
great is it that they just stuck it to DC.
That
Like,
mustache.
You took out the mustache, your movie bombed.
Yeah. This movie could end up making more than the Justice League. It's a better movie. His mustache looked great. His upper lip in the Justice League was ridiculous. So all in all, everywhere this movie wins.
See it for the mustache.
Hell yeah.
I'd go along with him. Probably around an 8. I also would like to mention too, I think it would be my third favorite of the Mission Impossibles. I think I might have mentioned that already, but yep, the first one, Ghost Protocol, and then Fallout. I just love the action. The action was just like wall to wall. Like there was never a moment's rest. Even little moments, just like jumping out of the airplane, they amped up so that you never had a moment to catch your breath.
Yeah.
And I thought the plot it was trying to be a little too convoluted in the end, but it didn't take away from the action scenes, which is the reason you're going to see a Mission Impossible in the first place. So,
Yeah.
Ethan Hunt, I hope you come back for a 7th installment. I'll tell you that right now.
Cool. I think I give it an 8. The reason why I gave it an 8 was mainly just the plot holes I found. I really enjoyed it. It was a fun movie. A lot of action going on. A lot of great scenes. I love that they had Sean Harris in there. Sean Harris is one of my favorite actors, and I don't think he's used enough. He's a really creepy voice that we hear in the trailer. Loved it.
My friend pointed out to me, like, why can't he just die? Like, Lane just wants to die. That's
Yeah.
all he wants.
True.
Like, he's the one person that's never allowed to
He
get
wants.
killed. So
I know.
we'll probably see him again, too.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, he's a great villain in this, great villain in anything. And I really liked one last thing before I move on to Taylor. Cinematography. I really enjoyed the uniqueness that they brought with the filter that they used, and I enjoyed some of those fun scenes where they, the scene inside the police transportation vehicle when Lane is tied up and he's being in the truck is submerging, and you see the wall of water come towards him. And you know that they filmed that in like one of those rotating rooms.
That's now that you mentioned it, kind of another Inception vibe. Like the
That
That
rotating
was
hall,
very
yeah.
Inception.
That
like,
was
I have to look up.
Corey must love Nolan.
Maybe. Inspired by him, worked with him on something.
same director as Rogue Nation, by the way.
Yep. Christopher McQuarrie,
Yep.
Oscar
You're right.
winner for. I think he wrote The Usual Suspects, and he won an Oscar for that.
I think so. All right, Taylor.
I'm gonna give it a 9
Oh,
because I'm a notorious sleeper during movies, and this movie had me jumping around,
The Taylor
and
sleeping scale.
biting my nails, and I loved it. My favorite parts are just like Benji's little like one lines. Like I just
He's so
love
good in this.
the level of like subtle humor that he brings to the movie. Because I mean, obviously the chases are awesome and all the action is awesome, but I just think it's that little banter between the characters that makes me like really connect to them, and I liked it.
Yeah.
It's one of the. It's something in the new ones from like Road Nation on. They've really amped up the comedy, and it
Yeah.
makes the teamwork just so much better.
Right. I think that the thing that bothered me the most with I haven't seen the two more recent ones, but with the second one, like the cheesy lines just killed it for me. And I thought this one was way, way better, like writing. Like I didn't bother me. Like you had said, the one-liners from the trailer seem a little cheesier because they're in the trailer, but when you see them in the actual scenes, it all worked really well. So I don't really have any negative, I don't think. I thought it was a great movie.
Cool. Well, that's it for our podcast at Brutally Honest Reviews of Mission Impossible 6 or Mission Impossible Fallout. Tune in next week. I don't know what we're doing yet, but we're going to be putting out a Hereditary review pretty soon. So yeah, guys, stay tuned and have a good week.
Like and subscribe.
Yep.